Hello, everybody, to Student Discourse with the expertise of some rocking ESOL teachers right here in Montgomery County Public Schools. We've got an agenda for you today. We're going to start with talking a little bit about Discourse, and we're going to jump into 4 apps that really help support and facilitate this process in the classroom, and of course, wrap up with some final thoughts. Today is Hannah Turner from Argyle Middle School. She teaches ESOL 1. And I'm going to invite Hannah. Come on the line, introduce yourself, and tell everybody a little bit about your teaching background.
My name is Hannah Turner. I'm a teacher at Argyle, and I've been teaching ESOL 1 for a couple of years here now. I first began teaching ESOL as an undergrad at Utah State University, and afterwards I moved abroad to teach English in Greece and Thailand. So I remade my way back to the States, and I'm really enjoying my time at Argyle with the ESOL 1 students.
Recently made your way back or reluctantly made your way back?
It's a little bit of both. I have to say the weather in Greece and Thailand was a little bit more my style.
Actually, for those guys who are watching recording, this is that really, really cold day in April. We don't know which one it is, but I brought up a little bit of word choice there, but that's important. But this isn't what Discourse is. Can you give folks a little, what is Discourse to you and why is it important?
Discourse to me, when I am working with my students and I am teaching them vocabulary or language constructs, they receive a lot of practice for that, both in my class and in their content classes. But what my English language learners need is practice using those concepts in conversing with one another. They need to practice verbalizing the things that they are putting on paper. And so in class, what I am frequently looking for opportunities for them to engage one another, verbally use what they're learning.
The tool that you've been using, I think have as you shared, really been working for you. And one of those is one that's very familiar, near and dear to a lot of teachers' hearts. That's Google Classroom. And so what I'm going to do right now, my screen's going to shift just a switch, and what's going to happen is you will be taken to a blank Google Classroom that I have made up. And is a Google Classroom framework. If you're on the line and you're with us live, you can roll your cursor up to the top of the screen. You'll see there's a little chat box, and you'll be able to get into that chat box and share comments or thoughts as you move through it. Move and direct our attention into this one, Hannah. This is Google Classroom. Students in
So with Google Classroom, we have an excellent opportunity to collaborate with one another and prepare for discourse before students are asked to jump in and be put on the spot with that discourse. Using Google Classroom, students can prep their answers and communicate with one another. And once we have reached a certain level of preparation, we can bring that discourse off of the computer into real time. And what I find is that create question on Google Classroom really lends itself to that process.
Classroom, you find, you'll have a little floating plus sign. This is, if you ever wondered why this sign is here, it's because that's where your thumb is on a mobile device, and we're all mobile.
Just lost Carrie. So in the meantime, while we're waiting for Carrie to come back, Hannah, can you go ahead and just tell us a little bit more about how you're using Classroom and how it inspires discourse? And I'm sure we'll get back on.
Sure. So while Carrie has the screen up, she was just explaining that if you click on that plus button, you have certain options that show up. Announcement, create assignment, create question, and reuse post. And create question has been pivotal in encouraging more discourse in my classroom. And so the way I tend to use it is I will pose a question to my students for which I'll have to construct a response. And that initial response is not creative collaboratively. They are using their knowledge in order to inform what they write. Have finished constructing their response, they then submit that response to the classroom. At that point that they can see what their peers have written and their peers can see what they have written. With that information, they can read through responses. They can get ideas for how they would like to shift their response. They have the option to explaining to Norca that where we are right now, you can type in a question. So coming back from spring break, I asked my students how their spring break was. Did you do? Are instructed to write, it's a timed writing, so they have about 5 minutes to construct their responses, and I ask them the question. Blue ask button, the question pushed out to their Google Classroom, and they have the chance to write their responses. And what on Google Classroom, yeah. Go.
You get in the information, you put the question up top, you put in the details here, there's a dude if you wanted it, and of course if this was more advanced, you could give me or other pieces to hire it, and ask and see what happens.
All right, we click ask. Ooh, those are my afternoon announcements. Are those too loud?
We all know and love afternoon announcements.
Is that too loud for you guys?
I think we'll mute you for just a quick sec, and
okay.
People kind of the rundown of what happens from here. There's really authentic with our teaching experiences here. So, coming back this day here, she's posted her questions. Now, students could add a comment, but that's actually how kids would necessarily go in and complete the experience. Instead, they would click on it and be able to fill in their responses. Once they do, you as a teacher can see all of their responses right here. Now, one of the things that the neat I find is that, first of all, it's easy to assess. You can see everyone's work. But you also choose if you want students to be able to see each other's responses or keep it secretive. One of the things I found in instruction with this is having it share with other students what students said holds a higher level of accountability. Since they're sharing what they did with their whole class, they are motivated to do a little bit, stronger work. And I know from talking to him a bit, it's not that done in 30 seconds because the students are more motivated to complete are a little more motivated because they have that, that peer pressure.
Well, Carrie, that peer pressure is really, really important. So we deal with lots of international students in the world of ESOL, and our majority of our ESOL students are Hispanic. And that's the learning style of Hispanic students is peer-to-peer, peer-to-peer discourse, and they're much more motivated and learning style to speak to each other versus directly to a teacher. So you're creating an opportunity now to really close the gap because you're increasing interaction with academic language. And we all online, there's no backseat. Everybody's an active learner.
Absolutely. And this makes it very clear who has, as you can see, zero done and not done. It also makes it very clear if everyone's participated or not. Before classroom, I'll do there are ability to reuse a post now. You can create assignments, you can create announcements, and when you post these, if you have multiple classrooms, you can repost to all of the different classrooms at one time. And Lynn, if you're around, as we switch up, we've done an Appy hour on Classroom, and she'll throw that in the chat. So if you love Classroom and you want to learn all the tips and tricks, I'm going to invite you to take a look at that Appy hour link, and we'll get you right in there.
I'm sorry to interrupt. It's Lynn. I point out one more really amazing tool when you're using Classroom for discussion is that you get the count. So you always know exactly how many of your students have and have not yet their response. And so you as a teacher, you know immediately, hey, 2 of you haven't turned it in yet, let you know your time's almost up. So that is another wonderful tool. Hannah was talking about doing a timed response. So when I'm getting close to the end, I can see 2 of you haven't finished, get busy, that kind of thing. It's a great tool as well.
Oh, wonderful addition on that part. I'll jump over in another world of I love the theme of preparing the students, having them write their work before they talk their work. That would be so much more comfortable for me if I were acquiring new language. Another tool she uses for this is called Socrative. So I'll invite and chat if you're there. If you've used it before, if you've never used it, give me a 1 in the chat. And if you have used it, you can't live without it. You can give me a 5 or where you fall in between on that scale. Go ahead and add information in the chat. Doing that, I'll invite Hannah, hopefully afternoon announcement over, to give a bit of information about how she uses Socrative. Oh, I take that back. It looks like she has jumped in on us, so I'll go ahead and give you that jump in. And any of my peers with me today, you can jump in as well. My screen's going to change for a second, and we'll take you over. And I'll give you a heads up of what Socrative is. That's spelled, but it is a play on the name Socrates. So guess what? If you're Socrates, you're probably talking questioning tool. And that's 1,000% true. Socrative it's a free app that you can get at the App Store that'll do to quiz and query students. So ask questions of them and they can respond. It has some delightful tools of visualizing students' do work so you can tell who's done their work or not. And it is a wonderful tool for tickets. Students have logins. One of the nice parts about student logins is they can do it from a phone. So if you are not a Chromebook classroom, students with devices can answer in using the devices in their pockets. And another reason I love, one of my qualifications for apps is to sign in with Google. You absolutely can sign in with your Google account. You can see my room right here. You name it. So I was working with some teachers at Blake, and they could name it the number of their room, that's easy to remember. What room are you sitting in right now? If you are a student and you're signing up for this, it's as easy as going to Socrative, that link in the chat, and typing in to be able to enter my room. As you see, it's also pretty simple to use. One of the things Socrative is really striving for as a company, we do research on these guys, is they don't try to be anything they're not. So they keep it simple and focus on just being a really good, really easy to use testing. It's a way to keep, if you go standards for getting everybody engaged, it really holds them accountable because you can ask questions on the fly, even if you want to, and get answer. Everyone answers before anyone answers out loud, which is really useful. informative. Questions about the tool, go ahead and throw them in the chat. You can give me a smiley face to know you're ready to move on. So the tools focus on getting students to write, because the preparation of writing before the talking, before the discourse in the classroom, really helps students prepare. And it gives them a chance to get their ideas together so that when it comes to discussing them, they have their information. Norka, any more thoughts on that you want to throw in? And if not, we'll jump to our next kind of tips and tricks to make discourse happen. Let's do that. Our guest for today is Tammy Henman. She's at Gaithersburg High School. Tammy, say hi and tell us a little about your teaching self.
This is really fun. I hate to say this is the first time, my first Appy Hour experience, but I hope to join many more in the future. Thank you very much, Carrie. I teach at Gaithersburg High School. This is the one and only school that I've been in. I've taught ESOL 1, ESOL 4. Currently, I'm teaching Met Spanish. I co-taught biology, algebra, horticulture, and modern world history. So I've had quite a few experiences in the old building and the new building. And thank you very much for having me, Carrie.
The former social studies teacher in me says you're a Renaissance woman.
Oh, wow. Well, algebra was not one of the highlights. I will admit that, but I sure had fun in modern world history, that's for sure.
Good job. We're so glad you're here with us here today. And pride of Gaithersburg High School, you're one and only. We'll talk about a couple different ways that discourse, the tool you can do with discourse. But before we do, what does discourse mean to you and your instruction?
Discourse is combining all the modes that our students are using, their written language, oral, listening skills, everything, and sort of having it all make sense to them. Being able to, she and all their other teachers, that they're getting it, that they are progressing and in evaluations, that they're showing not just their ESOL teachers, but in their content classes as well. Making a connection between the words, sentences, putting everything together, and finally able to see that light bulb going on in their heads.
And that is, I have to say, one of the funnest parts of teaching, that light bulb moment. And some of the tools we have today help provide light in a different way. Now, the tool we're going to talk about is one that is near and dear to my heart and many hearts, and this, of course, is Google Docs. If you would, in the chat, go ahead and put a number in there. How do you feel about Google Docs? I have to admit that Lynn's 5, Norka, you're 5. If you're not there, that's okay. I'm going to give you a reason to drop up one more notch, right? If you're not a 5, you might be by the time we see some of Tam's ideas here. And she's actually pulled a few of those guys, and we have them right here. What we're gonna do is Tammy's actually gonna tell you a few of her ideas, and we're gonna jump over to Google Docs itself and let people try some stuff out. So, Tammy, you use Google Docs to explore vocabulary. Can you kind of explain just a little bit about what it is you do with Google Docs that makes this happen?
Great, thank you. I would mention that one of the reasons that I really started to explore using Google Docs and technology was, if nothing else, knowing that our kids were going to be using computers to take the WIDA test this year. And I was really nervous about brand new beginning kids and them having experience using a keyboard and so forth. So this sort of led me to investigating and exploring opportunities for Google Docs. So one of the ways that I started was a pretty simple document that students were utilizing academic vocabulary, exploring a little further. This document, they We pull vocabulary from the text. They translate the word in their language, which they can use Google Translate within, the Google search. And then they find the sentence in the text that they're reading and copy that. Finally, they look for an image to help them make a connection to that vocabulary word, hoping that will help them remember the word. So we started with something for ESOL 1 students that's actually pretty simple, but other things here, they don't have to link in Google, they can pull everything right within the doc.
Anybody who'd like to join me at this doc, you can just click on the link. As long as you're logged in with your Montgomery County, your mcpsmd.net account, you'll be able to come here. And that's such a great starting point for folks. You'll see what I've done this doc is I inserted a table. That's how I got my table. And I put, oops, that's too much. So for that one, I got a table here. And then you mentioned using Google Translate. An add-on, if you wish, right here from Google. If you don't have an add-on, what you do is you just scroll to the very bottom and add-ons. And then you just search for Translate. And I had to translate here, so I'm a little bit smaller, folks. I'm going to print either. I'll go up here, and I'm going to zoom out a little bit. Add-ons. If I need more add-ons, I get add-ons, but I click Translate, Start. A table, which I can highlight and translate. Table to Spanish, but your students might be taking it from Spanish to English. I can paste this in here. You had mentioned pictures. One of the images without having students have to go to Google is to go to Insert, Image, and of course they take a picture. They could upload an image themselves. They can search right here for pictures like table. Image that references it. What did your students do with this? Is this kind of beginning activity? What did you find?
I love it. It's great. They focused. It's something they're pretty quick at now, so we don't have to spend necessarily an entire period working on this, but it helps them. It gives them one more opportunity to be exposed to the vocabulary, which is really important for language learners. I think studies show that they need 9+ exposures to a word before it really sinks in. So this is just one, additional opportunity for them to work with vocabulary.
Norca points out in the chat they're active learners, and this is students making their own meeting. I'll also share, we did do an hour with Cook, one of your colleagues at Gaithersburg, and he mentioned the students getting proficiency using the tools doesn't just help them on WIDA, it helps them when they go back into their regular ed classrooms. They can become an expert in a different way with their English-speaking peers, and that really promotes confidence and create a sense of safety in a classroom where everything might be new.
Good for it also helped the new, we get so many new kids in our school as well, so it's nice for the more experienced ESOL learners to help the newcomers as well. It gives them comfort level of, in that forum as well, that they know something.
And as we're demonstrating it here, welcome everybody who pops into the doc with us. But if there's a list of many words, students can learn to work together to be able to collaborate on one doc at one time. And so that's some ideas that you had about using this course. Now let's jump back and jump to your next idea. I'm gonna come on, little mouse. There we go. Sorry, folks. Oops, I'm having just a smidge difficulty getting this up here. I mean, if you just want to share your next idea, we pop back, we may stay right here.
Okay.
For it.
I think the next idea was the voice recognition. Is that right, Carrie? I don't know if that was the second one you had.
Voice recognition. Right.
Yeah. So, within Google, you can activate voice recognition. And what I've done with this function is I will take a screenshot. We have access to our text online. So I'll take a screenshot of the text and I'll copy exercises within the text itself, plop it in a Google Doc, and then I'll put a table below and have students actually practice the vocabulary or practice the exercises. They may have to fill in the blank. They may have to create some sort of grammar structure, but instead of typing it, I'll have them say it. So it gives kids an opportunity to practice, speaking, and it gives them an idea of, oh, did I say that right? Does that look right? It gives them many different ways to sort of wrap their head around not just speaking, but also looking to see if they actually said what it looks like writing, and then being able to go back and make corrections.
Actually, in particular, too, Matthew is dyslexic, and he finds that same process, speaking English his whole life, it's very helpful. As see, once you get tools to show on your screen, it's actually tools voice typing, and if you click on the microphone, as you speak, it actually types the words for you. Now, one thing I like nicely here also is that it also recognizes grammar conventions such as the period. So you say, this is my favorite thing, period, new paragraph. So here, working on it. Emma, I'm so glad you're with us today for the professional development experience, period, new paragraph. Surprised that if I dictate the word Appy hour, comma, so it's Appy, period. So, as I have guessed here, it's not perfect. It's got Abby, not Appy, and it's making us all a happy hour, but who doesn't want an extra H in their one? And then you find that is tools voice typing. Be an add-on. You just have to get an add-on to get voice translation. Now it's just built directly into Google. If you have questions about that idea, go ahead and throw them in the chat, or if you have comments. Norca mentioning, the power of having students hear each other and their peers read is really big. It's a very safe way as chances for students to figure out, to practice their language and getting feedback. And I'm so glad you think it's a great tool. I love voice typing. And I have to give a big shout out, too, for them looking, reading, and then voicing. We don't always realize that typing can be a barrier. That by really focusing on the scale of pronunciation and talking and eliminating that having to write at the time being is a good way to focus students who are in what are really complex skills. And we did it a little bit before. If you have an idea that you want to share about collaborative writing at the same time.
Yeah, this is an, oh, sorry, I'm still here. This is an exercise that students were, we were practicing summarizing skills, and instead of, a big job for one student to summarize the whole piece that we were reading, possibly 2 pages, we broke it apart and we had groups summarize each paragraph, and they each had responsibility. They paired up. They worked in pairs as well to summarize a paragraph with the text. And as they're doing that, they could see what the other partners were doing. They went back and critiqued the summaries. It sort of made a big job seem a little bit smaller. And then actually what the culminating project was for students to utilize what friends had created and decide if it was good or not, if it was worth it's a good summary, and then they wrote their own culminative summary about each paragraph in the end. But they were able to utilize what their classmates had already started from a collaborative document, such as what you're looking at.
This is worth noting in Google Docs as you set this up, that your share settings is what makes this possible. So I've chosen to click share, and I have anyone in MCPS can edit. That means everyone comes to my one document and works together on it. If I wanted everyone to make their own copy of the document, so they were doing individual work, I used the link that's up here in the chat and shift it so that instead of saying edit at the very end, as I scroll down there, I could write the word copy. Now what's fun here is if you do that with copy, it's a fun trick. You actually will, it's almost like a Xeroxer. So if I hadn't wanted all my students working together, I could have them make a copy of the document. Of course, in this case, Tammy did, so they're all in the document together. And if you want to see if students have really been working together, don't forget that you can look here at the all changes saved or last change and click on it, because it will give you a view of everyone who's edited the document. So to get back and track, are students all working? Is everyone doing stuff? You can see it by viewing the revision history and back to any point in the document and restore version. I'll share that we have our ESOL experts on here today. This idea of collaborative note-taking, I did in a philosophy course this summer, having students work on reading an entire Bertrand Russell's a whole not a novel, but a whole book written to him on philosophy, and each student took a chapter and summarized it. So this strategy goes from very high to the beginner and works extremely well. Any questions or thoughts, go ahead and throw them in the chat. And if you do, just give me a smiley face. And in the chat, getting our students to collaborate and write together is another form of discourse. Tammy uses is to actually use Google Forms. Now, how do you guys feel about forms? Have you never used them, or can't you live without them? Number in the chat and press enter. I say privately to me that I've got some fives. Some people know and love themselves some forms. I mean, who wouldn't? I'm going to shift my screen. Actually, I'm not shift quite yet. Take a screenshot of one of your forms. What's this doing, and how does it benefit your students?
I recorded my phone. I read a message to the students, but I didn't want to show my face, so I just showed them a picture from the text that the passage was about. So I just my phone on that picture while I was recording the reading passage, and then I typed in the Google form questions about the passage. So they click on the picture, listen to the passage, and go on to answer the questions in the Google form.
As I see in the chat, such an easy way to assess, and also such a really useful way to scaffold instruction. I'm going to throw a link in the chat for folks that come after us, you know, who if you're watching on the recording or after we're done. This third wheel, it's one of the Appy hours we did in the past, and it talks a lot in detail about forms. I'm going to take you over. We're going to do a little bit with that. We're going to kind of spin on a few things you can do in forms, but if you're looking for more in-depth, that hour will be great for you. Now, how do you form? Well, I just brought you to my Google Drive, and click on New, and then More, and then Forms. This is a form for you. If you like old forms better, you can click on this little right eye and go back to old forms. But we're here, and we're going to call it. And then what most people know is, hey, you can do multiple choice questions, right? You click on them, you ask a question. videos in? Well, scroll over here, look at your icons, that adds a question, title, and video. If you're using a video or a piece, you search for them here. And I could, here we go, pick a song and link right in from YouTube. Or, of course, if you have a URL, you could put it in. Now, what I didn't know, which, maybe it's silly to know, but I was so happy when I figured it out, you can actually drag and make these videos bigger because they're really small. And now I'm good. I don't want to. And now I have my video in, and if I want the question to go above it, I can click and drag to the video. And also answer the multiple choice questions. I have an idea, Tammy, that you can make your own videos and don't think you have to use your face. Know that you can also just pick an image or a collection of images for you.
I should mention is I believe there's a setting if you create your own YouTube site and create your own video, you have to be sure to click the link that you can share. I've made that mistake a couple of times. And I can see the video, but when I push out to my students, they're not able to unless I forgot exactly what the name of the link is, but there's a spot after you've downloaded the that you.
At this point, this is a first for, I do believe, our Appy Hour moments of going to YouTube. So if you're here, one thing that I like about YouTube is it is really easy to upload a video you've created. So if you've made one on the Promethean board, because they're really easy to record, if you've done a screencast, if you've done it using apps like Awesome Screenshot or extensions like Awesome Screenshot, if you've done that, or Lynn, our favorite one, right now, can you help me out? The one I love. This is when you call out to the report. It'll come to me, folks. But you click on upload, and you can upload anything you've made. So however you want to make a streaming video, all you got to do is upload it. Though, you want to make sure it's either public, unlisted, or private. To make it public, that's fine. Unlisted works for you because as long as you have the link to it, it's okay. So you'll see I'm showing you my channel here, and my girls actually make, look, here's my Anna, make a video of her spelling words. So that's my kid. And this is an unlisted video. It's up, but it's not like you can't search for it and find it. And as long as I have this link, if I want to jump back over to my Google form, so I read it there with a right click, folks. If you're like, what did she do? Read it with a right click. And then if I get back and paste it into my form, change this video. So, Tammy, that's great advice to know. Where is it? I put mine. What I do is I put mine as unlisted and as well. That people, you can't just search and find my Anna, but if I want you to see it, you can. If you do this form, you just click on the little preview, and you'll see the video works. And you could answer the questions and press submit. If you have any questions about forms, or if you have a comment, or about YouTube, we'd be glad to answer them. And you. All right, and another way to make authentic assessments, and who wouldn't want to make authentic assessments? Students. Yeah, we have a bonus idea for you as well for recording and students that I think we'd be remiss if I forgot or we didn't mention to you, and it's called ClipChamp. I have Lynn with me. She's the one who brought this delightful video into our world. Lynn, you give them a quick description of what this does?
We first discovered it when we were working with special education students at the elementary level. They were making commercials when school was starting up this fall on the right way to behave. And so they were trying to record themselves and they were trying to use a cell phone. And we're like, no, no, no. Click. All you have to do on a Chromebook is load the app, hit record video, and you can record yourself or you can use your Chromebook and record things around you. It's amazing. She is now, this teacher has now taken, she's made backgrounds of like the moon, and so the kids sit and they tell their stories that they've written about the moon. It's just a fun recording, super simple.
As how I do it with my Anna, she actually writes words and holds them up on the screen, but you can just record the video. As well, I tallied myself up here. I'm going to press record video. You allow your camera to be seen. That's the one piece that you want to know. And the thing, I'm Anna. I'm not nearly as cute. Here I am. I'm reading. This is my nature, Silver Spring, Maryland. It's just that easy. Once the kid's done, once you've recorded your time, because you just press start, you press the space bar to start. And my 7-year-old is really good at pause and then more fun and exciting things. When it's done, you press finish recording, and it actually kicks out to a lot of sites. So you can put it to YouTube. That's what I do, but they do let you report it to other places as well. And props, I definitively help kids may be shy. Be shy. You can also see how you can share the video here to drive or save it to a computer. If you love Discourse and you're looking for a little bit more information about Discourse or academic language, I'm going to shout out to this awesome course that was made in collaboration between the Office of the Chief Technology Officer, that's me, Lynn, and the ESOL department, Norca, and all her our teachers. This is about academic language. It goes over the basics. And Norca, you might want to, if you could jump on the line, how can this help teachers? I know you recommend it. We've had over 3 people take it. Tell us a little about what people can expect of this course.
Thanks. Well, first of all, you get 1 credit, and I know how teachers are. They always want those little gold stars. So you get at least 1 gold star for taking this. And you can access it from any computer. It's about 10 minutes long. And thanks to Carrie, it's filled with wonderful visuals that help us understand that academic language is much more than just vocabulary. So in the world of MCPS, all of our content teachers were very good about making sure students know the words, but just it's extremely important, especially in the light of Common Core State Standards, that we get to the discourse level, which is, like we said, putting the words and the sentences together to communicate deep understanding, but it's also their ability to elaborate in great detail and to be organized and cohesive. So organizers are an excellent support for getting students to add more detail to extend their discourse. So it's video on the 3 levels of academic language: the word level, the sentence level, the discourse level. And today we learned so many ways that we can get students to be motivated to talk more to each other, both in written discourse and oral discourse, using very cool apps that will help them elaborate and extend their discourse. Thanks.
And just for your own growth and development, I do throw in a link and a shout out to a list of courses that were made through a partnership with our digital content design. And they wrote courses for English, ESOL 3 has a whole bunch of them, but also English, US history, NFL, philosophy, and math. So if you are interested in, and your students like to learn in the same way that you might like that course, I recommend checking that out because I don't think you'll be disappointed. And as a final bonus before we rock out for today, I'm going to throw one more link in here too. And this is to on the tool. It's a pilot, the new MyMCPS for students and teachers that has not like forms, that cool stuff, but it has a suite of tools that are park friendly and park ready. So if you're looking for an Appy hour that really talks about assessment, don't miss that one. Now I have a great core of people that help make today's show awesome. And so I'm going to invite Tammy first. Do you have any kind of parting shots for people as they go off and discourse?
I would say don't be scared. Just try things and don't back down. If you don't have computers available, think of creative ways to get computers in your classroom. Like you mentioned earlier, if students have phones, let them use their phones and just, keep learning yourself and keep trying things.
Great advice. I'm not sure what it is. As Norca's advice, she put it in the chat for us, is to take that risk. And my advice, and it will also help answer Jocelyn's question as well, is join our, which we come live to you every other week on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, but we also record all of our shows and get quite a bit of traction within in the podcasting world. So we've recommended a couple hours for you today, our classroom, one on assessments and learning, and one that will take you into forms. But you know what? All our shows, we've got about 3 of them linked there. They're for you. And we'd also be remiss if we didn't connect you with more support before we leave. Every school has at least 2 instructional technology specialists. Lynn one, I'm one. Anything you saw today, you can contact us and we'll help you. Plus, Appy hours, as I mentioned, monthly newsletters. So Lynn and Lisa put out a newsletter. You can follow them. Lynn, if you've got a link to that handy around, let's throw that in the chat for folks. And don't forget, you can also follow us on Twitter if you want to be reminded that of when an Appy hour is, or learn about cool stuff, and tweet us. And if you're doing something really cool, send that message, because we're not just here to share the ideas that we come up with. We're learning from you guys. We learn from experts like Tammy and Hannah and Norca and all the people in the school who've done awesome work. And so you know what? Let us know. Maybe you'll be our next expert on Appy Hour. And folks, as you take off and head out on this brisk afternoon, make sure you keep connecting cool apps with Rockstar Instruction. And thanks again to all of our experts. You guys are wonderful. Have a great day.